Howdy, everybody. Welcome to Tilson Live. I'm one of your hosts, Eric Allered, Senior Vice President of Tilson Homes, part of the fourth generation of the Tilson family. So grateful y'all are here. I am joined, as I am every single week, week in and week out, by Mrs. Dawn Dantzler, our Vice President of Marketing and Customer Experience. Welcome, Dawn.
Hey, Eric. How's it going?
It's going great. It's going great. We are well on our way into the Christmas season. We're in December of 2021 somehow.
I know, that's crazy.
It is crazy. It is crazy. So yeah, 2022 will be here before we know it. All bowl games are selected, so we know where we're going to be the week before and maybe the day of New Year's, all that kind of stuff. We know what time we do in front of the TV. All that's settled. So I don't know what's happening between now and December 31st, but I do know roughly where I'll be then. I'm sure we're doing something for Christmas somewhere, whatever. Most importantly, the college football bowl season is almost upon us.
Straightened out, yeah.
It is. How are you? How are things?
Good. Coaching shakeups in college football, I don't appreciate.
Yes. Yeah. Well, when you're really good, that's what happens. They go after your assistants. That's how it works.
Yeah. Still not cool.
Well, we want everyone to jump in and join us here. We are live on Facebook, live on YouTube, live on Vimeo. We want you to hop in here. Tell us where you're building. Give us a howdy. Tell us maybe where you live now, maybe where you're building, maybe what part of the process that you're in. We are here to talk about one of the most important facets to most folks that nobody really wants to talk about, and that is how we're going to pay for the house.
Right.
Tell us a little bit what we're going to talk about today, Dawn, and then we let some folks hop in here. Tell us where you're from, and hop in the chat.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about actually my favorite benefit of Tilson and how much money we will save you if you go with us. So we're talking about financing the actual construction and how with Tilson you don't need a construction loan and what a construction loan is, what that means, so that you can kind of understand what the difference is.
Exactly. Yeah. So we got. It's one of those things everybody wants to, we spend a lot of time on these talking about design and customization and of course, site preparation. That's a weird build on your land when there are some of these that we do that are specific to building on your land. I guess probably most of what we do is specific to building on your land because that's all we know how to do. But this is one of those that, how you actually pay to get the home built. This is something very, very specific to custom on your land building. Yes. And then the way we do it is very, very specific to Tilson Homes. It's very different from how most custom builders get the homes funded during construction. So
very much so. Yes.
Excellent.
So let's see. We've got Crystal coming in from South Texas.
Hey, Crystal, welcome.
We have Rox over on Facebook trying to get somebody else's attention. So Megan, come on in. Come watch.
All right, Rox, thanks for jumping in. And I love the vagueness of South Texas. That is Crystal, you are safe. No one's going to.
She's anonymous.
No one's going to pinpoint where you are by any stretch of the imagination. We know. But anyway, we're grateful y'all are here watching. We're grateful folks are getting into this. So y'all hop in. Obviously, we are going to have questions while this goes on. What's the format for the questions, Mrs. Dantzler?
So when we do this EasyBuy presentation, we do shake up the format a little bit. Usually we stop and answer questions along the way, but with this one, there's a lot of math. So we don't really want to interrupt the chain of, doing the maths because then we'll both get lost and forget where we were and we'll have to start over again. So we're going to go all the way through the presentation and the explanation, and then we will circle back and answer all the questions.
That's right, because for Eric to do math, it's already hard enough. But yeah, interruptions, I'm easy at chasing squirrels and butterflies and things like that. So
we'll just start over again and be here all day. And I'm the same way. I'm just like, squirrel? All right, awesome.
But we understand what an important part of the buying process this really is to folks. I mean, you can have the most beautiful floor plan, love your salesperson more than anything in the world, have a beautiful piece of property. All that's great. No matter how bad you want all of those things, if we can't figure out how to get it financed, none of that is gonna come to fruition. So we know this is important to you guys. Obviously, ask us questions. We totally expect you guys to have some questions about this stuff. So put them in the chat. We will be monitoring it. And also, of course, we'll answer all of those questions while we are on here today. And so with that, Dawn, do we want to get into the presentation?
Yes, let's go ahead.
All right. So I think I'm set up right for it. So we're going to, there's really 99.9% of custom homes built on your land are built with a construction loan. That's
Hmm.
and there's nothing illegal about them. There's nothing unethical about them. There's nothing amoral about them. They're just that's how most, and not just custom homes, but even large commercial construction projects. When we built our new church building for the church I go to, it was done using a construction loan. So it's not a foreign concept, but it is to our prospective buyers because it's not how Tilson does it. And then we're going to talk a little bit about that and about why we don't do it that way moving forward. So first of all, Dawn, let's take folks through what a construction loan is and just kind of wrap that up for us.
Absolutely. So kind of an explanation of a construction loan if you've never encountered one before. Most home builders are going to require their customers to pay the cost of their home during construction. So they need your money or money from somewhere else to pay for labor, materials, all of those good things. So to do this, you would get a construction loan from the bank. So it's in the name of the home buyer. So you would be personally going to the bank and getting a construction loan. And what a construction loan is it's a short-term, higher interest loan. Generally, it's about 1% to 2% higher than the conventional mortgage rates. Lately, from what I understand, they're going a little bit higher than that because mortgage rates are so low that the banks want a higher interest rate in order to give out these loans. It is going to require some hard equity, so some cash into the project. Generally, they're looking for 20%. So they want you to own 20% of the final value of your home plus the land in order to begin, and you'd be putting down any difference in a down payment. What it's going to do is pay off any loan that is on the land, and that's going to roll it into the construction loan because the bank is going to want one loan, just one person who has the response, who's able to get paid back for that piece. So anything that you owe on your land is going to get rolled into that construction loan. Usually a construction loan is about 12 to 18 months in duration. It's really going to depend on how quickly your home is built. That's how long this loan is going to go. And then the lender is going to pay out the money in stages as work on the home progresses. So the first draw, per se, that they would do would be paying off that land loan. And that portion starts accruing interest immediately. And then the home builder is going to take draws at certain stages.
Yeah. So a little bit to piggyback onto the short-term higher interest loan. Another reason
Mm-hmm.
we're seeing or we're hearing that folks are doing a higher interest rate on construction loans right now is because homes are taking longer to build
Right.
than they have in the past. So yes, it is traditionally designed to be a short, quote unquote, short-term duration by loan terms.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more unpredictable than they ever have been because the supply chain is more unpredictable than it ever has been. And the availability of labor is more unpredictable than it ever has been.
Right.
So banks are savvy to that. They do not want unfinished homes. There is no harder home in the world to sell than an unfinished home.
Right.
It's a very difficult sell. So a bank is going to go out of their way to be sure that they don't wind up with one of those.
Yeah. From their point of view, this is very much a high risk loan. I'm loaning you money to build this thing that you promised me that you're going to build that we don't know when it's going to be done. That's why you pay more for it.
So a little bit piggybacking on, the interest is going to accrue on the amount paid out. So like Don was saying on that, let's say they loan you $45,000 right out of the chute to pay off your existing land loan. The interest starts on that $45,000 immediately. And then obviously that amount is going to go up over time. So as the builder takes their first draw for like your foundation, your form material, your slabs, your steel, your post-tension cables, the labor for the form setter, the labor for the concrete contractor, all of that stuff happens. Then you will pay the interest on both those numbers combined. And so that interest number, your monthly interest payment is going to go up. So a lot of them are interest only throughout construction. In fact, most of them are because they're short term. So that's the only way the bank can make any money on them. Others, you're going to see that they won't take payments during construction, which sounds like a great deal.
Right.
But that works a lot like a taxi cab is working. In other words, all that interest is accruing. They're keeping track of it. In other words, it's going, but you're going to owe the interest when it gets converted to a permanent, into your final permanent loan. You got some other costs associated with the loan, like you got origination fees that so you're doubling up on a lot of these closing costs that you're going to have for your permanent mortgage anyway. but you are closing on it is another closing. You're so there's origination fees, there's title fees, there's closing costs, about 3% of what goes into it. So what do we do, Don? What's the difference? How different could it be?
So the difference is that we pay for the construction of your home using our own money. So we're not asking our home buyers to borrow money for us to use when we build your home. We have enough financial wherewithal to do it ourselves and not involve the bank in the process at all. So there's no loan for you.
Yeah. So there is an intangible there a little bit of if a builder is telling you that they'll only do construction loan. And by the way, this is not to say that we wouldn't do a construction loan. We've got one or two going right now where the customer that particular program was the only way they could qualify or the only program they were comfortable with, and we're building the home that way. But if a builder will only do on construction loans, then what they are telling you is that they probably don't have the financial wherewithal to build this home and get paid at the end. The Tilson's biggest, broadly speaking, competitor is really just the smaller custom guy out there building 1 to 3 houses a year. And there's a lot of good dudes out there doing that, and dudettes, and they build beautiful homes. But it wouldn't take much of an economic, catastrophe to knock them out.
Right.
And that's something that you want to think about. Everybody likes the idea of having maybe a lower price or dealing with the principal or the owner of the custom builder, but no one really wants to think about what the other side of that could be if that person gets fed up with it, or has a spouse that gets sick, or has one customer that sues them out of business, or something like that happens. One good litmus test for that, regardless of how much you may love the person, is, does this person have the financial wherewithal to build this entire home and not get paid till the end? Because that's what Tilson is offering to do for you as a prospective buyer and other customers that are already under contract and under construction. So something to consider as part of your interview process is the financial stability of the organization with which you're dealing. So that needs to play into your decision. I know, and you got other things to think about, like the design and the color selections and the location on the property and the permitting and the replatting and the zoning and the septic and the well and all this other. But something that needs to be top of mind is financial wherewithal of the company I'm dealing with. What's their reputation? What's their capacity? What happens if they go out of business during construction? So that's something to consider, because it happens. We don't like to talk about it a lot because it's not fun, but it happens.
Absolutely.
So take it away, Mrs. Dantzler.
So what does this mean for you as a customer of Tilson? Most buyers are able to build their homes sooner and for less total expense than they would with other builders, because we're not requiring as much of an upfront investment. Because there's no construction loan or associated costs and fees, no monthly payments during construction when you're working for us, no down payment for qualified buyers, lower equity requirements than construction loan lenders, and just you have more money in your pocket. We're going to go through the math of exactly how much this program saves you, but it's a good chunk of change. So most people are able to get more home for their money and to get it sooner, be able to start that process faster. You'll also, like Eric was talking about, have more peace of mind knowing that Tilson is financially secure enough to pay for the homes we have under construction, and we don't need your money to do that.
Yeah, and this really points to the why of why why the Tilson family decided to start doing it this way, and it really goes back to our roots decades ago. And that is we kind of cut our teeth and developed as a builder that kind of built the home for the common working person, okay,
right,
and their family, and we're going to talk about it in a little bit. Don's going to point out how construction loans are tougher to get than conventional mortgages because, like she alluded to, they're riskier, and it's only been kind of in recent history that you were able to do that at a rural level. Historically, when we were building eons and eons and decades ago, it was almost impossible for customers to get construction loans in rural areas. No bank wanted to do it. No savings and loan wanted to do it. And if they did it, it was almost unaffordable by design.
Right.
That only the really, really well-off working class could afford to do a construction loan because the bank didn't want the risk. And so we felt like there were enough people who wanted to build on rural land in Texas that there really ought to be a way for them to make that happen, and it shouldn't cost them tons and tons and tons of money. And that's really the why behind why we started doing this, is that it made it, us doing it this way opened this idea of having this independence, this serene lifestyle out in a rural area, made it possible for a lot more people than it would have been if they could only get a construction loan, because most people at the time particularly certainly didn't have 20% to put down to go get the construction loan. And they didn't have the money to be able to make interest payments while they were maybe paying the land payments on their paying on their land, or maybe paying for a mobile home at the same time. They just didn't have the kind of wherewithal to do that. And so that's kind of what brought us in doing this. And now obviously, times have changed. We're building different levels of houses for people now. We still build some of those, a lot for the common working class folk, but we build a lot of, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 homes as well, not including the land. And it's just those folks with that kind of, financial savvy are like, well, my goodness, if I can borrow it from Tilson for zero, why would I go borrow it from XYZ Bank, for 4.5%, 5%, 6% on a construction loan?
Right.
And Tilson assumes all the risk. My money can sit in its retirement account earning, interest or dividends or whatever. And so we stuck with it. We kept doing that. So now we're doing high level mathematics. So please keep asking your questions, comments, put them in the chat. We are going to answer your questions. Again, if you joined us a little bit later, the format's only slightly different on the finance when we do, so that we can get through this math uninterrupted and accurately, which is why we start with having Dawn going first at it, because that's how we know it's going to get done. But do ask your questions, put them in the chat. Anything that has to do with financing, of course, we're here to answer that today. And then we can talk about design and construction and site prep and all that if you want to. But Dawn, take it away. What are we looking at here?
Okay, so for purposes of this example, where we talk about a family who is building a home that is going to cost $300,000 on a piece of property that is worth $75,000. So the total value of that home plus the land is $375,000. And in this scenario, they've paid $40,000 into the land.
Okay.
So with Tilson's EasyBuy program, the total value is going to be $375,000. Our equity program requires 10%. So to begin construction under EasyBuy, you're going to have 10% equity. So that's $37,500. And then we need a $3,000 cash deposit at the time of signing your agreement, and that's going to be credited back to you at closing. So total out-of-pocket money with Tilson in this example would be $3,000. So then let's look at the same family going through a construction loan. So we've same total value, $375,000. Like we were talking about, the bank is going to want 20% equity to get a construction loan. So that's going to be $75,000. Since they already paid $40,000 in the land, they're going to need to put the difference down in cash, which is going to be $35,000 at the time to get the loan. And then just depending on how the bank's going to operate that'll either be credited at closing, or it'll go roll over as your down payment into your mortgage, your final mortgage. So that's up to the bank with that. Your total loan amount is going to be $300,000. And on that, you're going to have a loan fee. The closing cost and origination fee and everything we were talking about is going to be about 3%. So that's $9,000, and that is gone forever. That is fees that you pay to the bank. That's their money. You never get that back. Poof, gone. So your total cash to start is going to be $45,000 plus whatever your builder wants as their deposit.
Yeah, what we've seen is most deposits are running around between 1% of the total contract amount up to, I've seen as much as $10,000 that builders want for a deposit. And typically those, like ours, those are non-refundable deposits. The only way that money is credited back to you is if you do go all the way through to construction, which is, of course, the goal every time we do one. But yeah, so it's a significant
difference in cash up front.
Yeah, significant. So now, what is the deal with calculating interest?
So interest gets a little, a technical term I'll use is wonky. when dealing with a construction loan. So when we were putting this presentation together, I was trying to figure out how to predict, and this is what I found. And we talked before, this is the scariest statement I've ever read in my life about a loan. It makes me very nervous, but so we'll just read it out loud. So during construction, a construction loan's payments are based on the loan amount actually drawn. It is therefore difficult, if not impossible, to accurately estimate what the payments will actually be, as the loan amount is subject to change at any one time. So then they gave us this formula, like to get your best guess, but constructionloancenter.com is saying, hey, we're going to be wrong, but let's just use this to guess.
Right.
So that's taking 70% of the loan amount and then using a simple interest calculator to figure out what that monthly payment would be. Multiply that by 12, and that's going to give you the total approximate interest. So they're assuming that this is going to take a year. They're assuming 12 months, which we all know it's taking a little bit longer now. So any estimate we give you is going to be low.
Right. Yeah, that's and going back to kind of the original example is we know, I mean, fundamentally, we know the construction loan payments are going to change over time, because the amount that the builder is drawing down on, the amount that you're taking out of this, if you will picture it just as an account of money that the bank has, and every time you pull some out of there, they start charging interest on that. So your interest payments, of course, are going to change. So I can see it would be difficult. They're just trying to give you, some people, when it comes to finances, Don, it seems they need more security than that. I really need to know from a budgeting standpoint what I'm going to be paying out every month. Like, that's kind of a fundamental thing about a budget, is knowing what's going out. So
absolutely.
And yeah, going back to, like Don pointed out, that 12 months, man, I hope. I hope, I can't wait till we get back there.
Right.
We're doing this in less time than that. That would be great. But right now, I would not bank on only having interest for 12 months on a construction loan. And most banks are not. They are, in fact, betting on more like 18. That's just the way it is. And a lot of that is not in the builder's control. I mean, I'm not disparaging what those builders are doing, how long it's taking. Like, it's real. It's a real problem. Stuff that you need is not available. Stuff to finish a home, not available. We're having window packages show up 2 windows short and being told, hey, it's another 12 to 16 weeks on those windows. I mean, that's happening to everybody. So it's going to bear itself out in these construction loans, because construction's going to take longer, period.
Right.
So budget more than whatever you think you're going to need to, for time, and for, of course, if you're doing a construction loan, for interest payments.
Yes.
Now, Dawn's going to walk us through calculating the interest.
Okay, so on the left-hand side, we have everything that we reviewed before. So remember, we're at $44,000 out of pocket plus whatever the builder deposit is. And now let's talk about our interest. So what they were telling us to do is take 70% of $300,000, because that was our loan amount. So that's $210,000. We're going to multiply that by a 4.5% interest, which is a good approximation for what a construction loan would be right now. So that's $9,450. That is interest payments, and that money is gone forever. Again, that's a poof number. Bye-bye. So total money that you're paying in that you're never going to get back is that $9,450 in interest, plus that $9,000 in fees. So that's $18,450 that you have paid in this construction loan for the privilege of having the construction loan.
Right.
And then you still have that other cash tied up, which is $35,000 plus your builder deposit.
Yeah, and so and again, this is how most custom homes are financed, are built. We're just trying to paint the picture of a lot of folks. If you've only ever talked to Tilson, you've not gone in depth in this conversation. And if you have talked to other builders and they tell you, they'll kind of glaze, okay, well, yeah, we'll set you up with our construction lender. They'll get you a construction loan, and all that's true. But we're trying to show you kind of what that really looks like, and some of the questions you might need to ask. Again, whether you build with us or anybody else, all we want about Tilson Live, about these particular episodes, we just want you to have all the information.
And some programs may not have you paying the interest during the construction loan. I don't know if those programs are still out there, but keep in mind that even if you're not paying it, it's still accruing, which means that balance is going into your mortgage, which means it's then accruing more interest for the rest of your life. So either way, this is a huge financial difference.
It's a great point, Dawn. Thank you. So for instance, on this here, like if a builder were to require you get a construction loan, they may decide, you know what, we're not going to take draws on it. It's there. It's nice if we have our, it's like a security blanket. If we need to, we can draw on it. But what it is going to say, if they don't ever draw on that money, the interest doesn't really accrue. But most builders don't do that. If there's a construction loan in place and the buyer is qualified for it and is closed on it and is prepared for it, that's how the builder is going to fund the home. And so, but yeah, theoretically, if they never drew on that, and then the interest would not be accruing, but that's not how it's done. So, and the 35,000, like Don talked about before, that's to make up that to get to 20%, which is what most construction loans require. Like you said, sometimes that could go back to you, but not always.
Yeah. All right, so just the comparison. EasyBuy total cash out of pocket was $3,000, which was your deposit. On the construction loan, you've got $18,450 in interest and fees that you've paid in. That's gone forever. And then you've tied up, $35,000 plus your builder deposit. So you may or may not get back all of it or some of it or how that is, but that is cash. So total cash out of pocket, building your home with a construction loan in this example is $53,450. So it's a $50,000 difference.
It's a large difference. And so, and what we didn't talk about in any of this is you're going to need money to do other things on your land, depending on how prepared your property is for construction. You might need a culvert, you might need a construction drive, you might need, there may be impact fees that the municipality or the governing agency requires to be paid. I saw one came through yesterday, a park dedication fee of $6,000.
Oh,
park
wow.
Dedication. There could be a well, Roxas.
It could be a well, yeah.
There's a lot of stuff and so that's, and we understand that's all we do is build on your land. We know that's going to all have to go down, which is why we don't make you give us all this money to start the construction, because we know that there's going to be other expenses out there that have to be done because it is your land. We have one out in, I forget exactly where, but it's a Pedernales Electric Co-op, one of their 6 divisions. And it's somewhere they're estimating between $30,000 and $50,000 to get power to where this customer wants to build their home.
Oh, wow.
That doesn't matter who they build with. It makes no difference who they're building with. That's what the power company is telling them. That's what it's going to cost you to get power to this place. So when you're talking, that's the whole thing. Like that's all of that. So if you're using our program, you could still have some of that income to be able to some of that disposable money to do that with. Whereas if you're doing construction loan, you may not. And so something to think about, having all those ducks in a row.
Absolutely.
Now we know that there will be questions regarding this stuff, or comments or concerns or whatever. But all
right,
this is the time where we can get into Q&A about all things custom building a home on your land, financing, design, whatever you want to talk about. Let's get into it.
All right. Well, let's see what we've got going on. We have Tracy. She is joining us from Henley.
Hello, Tracy.
We've got Carol. She's joining us from Charlotte. Crystal's staying incognito from South Texas. We got Diane. Hi from Grayson County. Cabinets and trim are going in this week. Awesome. Right. That's great. We have Julie, who just wants to say thank you. Our sales consultant, Jody, is on her honeymoon. Yay, Jody. But I had some questions. Darla got right on it and got answers for us right away and was so kind about our hurry up excitement and gave us a timeline for our foundation. Awesome.
Very cool.
Glad that Darla was able to help you out. And then we've got Antonio's got some questions, I think. Signed with Tilson in May. Stakeout was in June. Signed off on plans in July. Had construction, drive, water, and electric on site in June, and feels like he's had no progress since then. I'm wondering if someone can look into his situation. He's not getting the best communication, he feels.
Well, I hate to hear you're not getting the communication, because obviously, just given how our business model works, as we just disclosed to you, it doesn't really do Tilson a lot of good to not build the house. So,
right.
We don't get paid anything until the house is completely finished. In fact, if you're doing a loan of any kind. So yeah, there's got to be something else going on there. So let us look into it for you. Maybe shoot us a private message. with a little more information than that, and we will certainly get the right folks on it and get you helped out.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we've got Texan Jim Bob, who says he would love to talk to Eric.
No, you're the one.
You're in the right spot.
You're the one who would love to talk to Eric.
So yeah, just reach out to us, send us a message, and we will get you. If you guys want to have a private conversation, we can set that up.
Yeah, of course.
Let's see. Rox was saying he was saying that you could use the money for a well. Karen is coming in from Missouri.
Oh wow, fantastic.
And then we got Steve saying he signed in January, and it was the end of September before work started on the pad. Talking to other builders in the area, what is about the time frame for everyone? We're moving very quickly now and nearly finished with framing. So yeah, I mean it's delayed. Like he's saying, that's kind of the timing that everybody's having. It's slower to get started because we've got to get everything all together, and also all the counties are slower as well.
Yeah, all these, what we're finding, all these cities and counties, municipalities that where your land is located, and we're finding a lot of them are not being as forthright, as transparent as we are, and that's fine. They're monopolies; they don't have to be. But they're going at slower paces because they can in a lot of cases.
Right.
We've had some tell us, we got TxDOT was one, for instance, the Texas Department of Transportation. I think it's changed since then because they got a lot of heat, but there was about a 8-month period where they were not working on Fridays because of COVID. Now, they weren't going to the office at all anyway. They were already not going to the offices.
Okay.
And I only know this because I spoke to them, and they told it to me like it was supposed to be some valid thing, but we are not working on Fridays because of COVID. In other words, we talked the state into giving us 3-day weekends. And that went on for 8 months. Now, were they working 10 hours a day for 4 days? No, they were not. And all of you folks that were having, permit applications or culvert applications that had to do with a state highway, state right of way. And by the way, that includes farm to market roads, FM this, ranch road that. Yeah, it all took 7 weeks to 10 weeks where it should have taken a week or two. And then, county. We have some counties that still to this day, some cities, in fact, city of San Marcos is one of them. You can only do everything online. You can't speak to anybody on the telephone because of COVID.
Well, yeah.
You cannot. Heaven, no, you cannot go to the office and talk to somebody. Set an appointment, absolutely not. And so, unfortunately, that adds time to all of these situations. And so, it doesn't do us a lot of good to tell you a guaranteed start date or completion date, knowing that there's that much of it that we cannot control. We can't control what the county is or isn't going to do in a timely manner. We can't control what a city or a state agency is going to do in a timely manner or isn't going to do in a timely manner. So, I mean, there's some folks that we can still talk to and have a conversation with, and those go really smoothly. But that hasn't been the case in the last 2 years, really, unfortunately. And I know it's frustrating. It's frustrating to us because we're very used to being in control of that and being able to drive that process and go talk to somebody. But this has been used as an excuse where they don't have to. Yeah, and that's unfortunate because who ends up paying the price is the consumer, the person who's going to end up living there. That's who the emotional toll is taken on, and I hate that. So
yeah. All right, we've got Nita. She is building the LaPorte in Brazos County. Framing foundation started today. Okay, awesome. Cool. So they're putting in your forms, sounds like. That's awesome.
Yeah, very cool.
All right, we've got Carla asking, when it comes to getting all the utilities, water, sewage, septic, electric in order, is it best to have it in place before reaching out to Tilson?
Not necessarily, Carla. No, you don't have to have it done beforehand. In fact, some of it you probably won't be able to get done beforehand, specific to the if you're having a septic situation, they're going to need the home design and the overall layout of where that home is going to sit on the property to be able to design that septic system. And the same probably goes for if you have city sewer, they're not going to, give you a permit or anything like that until we have submitted to them where the house is going to sit on the property, make sure it's not encroaching on any easements, setbacks, utility lines, that kind of stuff. But certainly you want to have had those conversations with those entities first. You're in a great spot there, Carla. That's a great question. Electrical, the sooner you start working on it, the better. That's one of the things we're seeing that's taking forever is getting electrical work done, which is kind of strange because every house needs it. So it shouldn't be a big surprise that But a lot of these power companies, again, Texas is deregulated,
Mhm.
meaning that there's not a lot of there is a Public Utilities Commission in the state of Texas, but they don't tell you they don't dictate like other states of who you have to use. Now, that's in a big area where you can choose your actual power company or the rates by which you pay. That is not the case with a co-op, which is where
Right.
91% of our homes are built. They're built in an unincorporated area where it is an electrical co-op or a cooperative. You will use that as your power company. There are no options.
Mhm.
Unless you can figure out a way to do hydroelectric power or 100% solar power all the time, which is kind of a struggle because it's dark half the time. So that's going to be a challenge. You are going to need a
Just
big
takes a
old bank
lot
battery.
of batteries. A lot of
Yeah,
batteries.
yeah. It's a thing. It's the
Mhm.
technology is there. I will say so is the price. So all that to say, definitely know who you're going to be needing. Like if you're going to some type of municipal or community water or water well, if you're going to have a septic system or you have access to public sewer, and then electrical. What co-op and what their process is and what their lead times are. And
Mhm.
that's what we're finding is whatever they tell you their lead times are, add a month to it. We're also
Right.
finding,
Yes.
and that's with anything that has to do with any type of government agency. Either add a month to it or double it, whichever's higher, because that's how long it's really going to take.
It's unfortunate.
It is.
Okay. Rox is asking who might be able to help us find a good spot for building on our land.
Well, Rox, I don't know how much land you got. That will depend. If you're like a 10,000 acre ranch, there's probably a lot of spots. If you got a couple of 1 to 3 acres, there's probably only 1 or 2 areas that it would even make sense. So that is one of the things that we do after our customers sign on with us. Is we meet you after your property and do a site evaluation, and we give you some input on that. A lot of folks have an idea of where they think it's going to be, and I'll tell you, Rox, what will play into that, we just answered before, is the utilities. So it may be, we'd really love to have it built way here, back up off the road on the top of this
Mhm.
hill, and that might be super cool. And what we might find is that's what puts you into one of those 10 to 20 to 30 to $50,000 power situations. We say if we move it 1,000 feet up closer to the road, then it does. But it's always going to be up to you. I mean, there's a reason you bought. I think it says you have 13 acres. There's a
Yeah.
reason you have 13 acres, and that's probably not because you want to be right up by the road or right next to somebody. We get it. That's how most of our customers are doing. But the utilities will have an impact on that, and then also access to it. So getting able to
Right.
get material, your construction drive, and then ultimately your permanent drive, particularly if you're doing a loan. That final appraiser is going to want access up to that site. So that can get pretty expensive on 13 acres, depending on if something's not there already. So, but we help you lay that out. We'll stake it in
Mhm.
multiple locations if we have to. We've certainly done that, and we'll give you the pros and cons of each spot, kind of from a utilities standpoint, also from a just a site development standpoint, and we kind of lay those out for you. But ultimately, it is your decision. We can help you, with some information, but we cannot decide for you. It must go here. There's with few exceptions. I mean, there are some city lots that are small enough with utility lines and easements and setbacks
This
and all
size
that.
house fits here.
This is it. Yeah, this is the only place that will go. But on 13 acres,
13 acres, he's got a little wiggle room. Yeah.
you got some wiggle room and you got some options, and that's a good thing. So,
Yeah.
but just know utilities and site prep; those will be the two largest contributing factors to where you end up doing it.
Okay. Makes sense. All right. Sandy's saying, I'm coming into the show late. Sorry, no worries. Must we have a confirmed lender prior to signing our initial contract? We might want to pay cash.
Okay, so no, you don't have to have the confirmed lender prior to signing. What we will have to have is if you're not paying cash for sure. And by the way, we have a number of folks who do switch from loan to cash towards the end of construction.
Mhm.
It happens every month. We get a couple, sometimes as many as 6 in a month that'll switch from a loan deal they were going to do to a cash deal. Maybe they sold their existing home. Maybe they took out an early retirement or something like that. Don't do that unless you talk to your lender. But
Yeah.
if you're planning on switching to cash, that is something that we do have customers do. However, before we will start construction, we do need to, if you are not paying cash at that point, the start of construction, we will have to have a permanent loan commitment from some type of mortgage lender. In other words, a fully underwritten loan commitment. You've done the W-2s, tax returns, they've taken your last 30 days pay stubs, they've pulled your credit, and they will fully underwrite. Yep, this family is good to go. If they were to close today, we could close them right now based on their income, based on their debt ratios, based on their retirement accounts, based on the fully underwritten, not a pre-qual, not a pre-approval, fully underwritten loan commitment before we start. Or we have to have we'll do a cash transaction, which is a different process.
Okay, makes sense. Julie is sharing that they also have 13 acres. They built the house 150 feet from the road. That is a cost of about $4,000 for electric lines to the house and water well pump. So
there you go.
That's what's happening for her area.
Yeah, and it is. It's going to vary from place to place. That's about average. That's not too crazy one way or the other. But I will tell you, if rock is encountered, it will be a different story. If you want to go underground. And that's when you have to start cutting into rock, or in that case, sawing into rock. That's where it could really really start adding up.
All right, awesome. Lewis is asking, can you explain the need for a dirt pad again?
I can, Lewis. There could be several reasons. So there's not the need. There could be several reasons. Now, there are some areas where that's just the way that homes are built. So I know we try to talk very generically on these because we build. We're trying to help a lot of people out, but the reality is we build in about 114 counties across the state of Texas. That's about half. And suffice it to say, houses built down near Aransas Pass, Rockport, that area, are not built by the same people, nor are they built the same way as one up on the Red River in Grayson County, north of Van Alstyne somewhere. Those houses are 300, 400 miles apart. That's several states in most places. And so there are some areas where they just operate differently. So, for instance, predominantly in North Texas, pretty much everything is built on a pad, which is basically just a mounded up hill of dirt, flattened out, ready for a house. That's what we see a pad. And there's different kinds of pads. We won't get into that necessarily, but that's one. That would be one reason. One is just the area you're in. When in Rome, you do as the Romans. And so there are areas of Texas where houses are just built on pads. That's just the way it's done.
Just makes everybody more comfortable because it's what they're used to seeing. So it makes appraisals clean. So everybody doing
foundation contractors, it makes sense to them. They get it. Framers are used to working now you venture over into Central Texas, into the hill country. You may have an 8-foot tall slab before the frame of the house even starts, or 10 or 13 feet. That's not uncommon over there. They're used to working that way. But if you were to take that model and go build one like that up in North Texas, the framers and sheetrockers and granite people and roofers and everybody's gonna look at it and be like, I'm not doing this. Is not compute. So it's confusing to them. Another situation where you might need a pad would be for an extreme out of level in an area outside of the hill country. Most places in the hill country, you can't do a pad because you end up just chasing that out of level. It drops so significally that you'll end up piling up dirt forever to try and even it out to zero, if that makes sense.
The dirt's going to roll down the hill before you finish.
It will. It will erode away, which is a problem. And engineers frown on that. They don't like the houses sliding down the hill. They don't like that one bit. And they will recommend measures to prevent that from happening. So we found that. Now, another reason that someone may need to do a pad would be a floodplain issue. So let's say you may have a super spectacularly flat piece of property, but it's a foot below the floodplain, or the highest point is a foot or a foot and a half below the floodplain. Or maybe you're dead level with the floodplain, but the county or the city or whoever requires that the finished floor, so the slab that you're going to be walking on, they want that to be a foot or a foot and a half or 2 feet above base flood elevation. So if you have a piece of property that's like that, it's flat. Yeah, it's flat. We don't really need to do a pad. Oh, but wait, you're not going to be high enough when we do our, let's say, 14-inch high slab on top of your existing foundation. Well, we'll do a pad in that case to basically build the land up, to build the starting point up, because we have to get that finished floor up to the whatever is required by your local county or municipality. So that's typically where pads are done. One is where everybody does them. 2 is in an at-a-level situation that's probably not in the hill country, and 3 would be in a floodplain type of situation.
To keep your house from flooding.
Yes.
Makes sense. All right. We have a question from Aisha. How long does it take for permits to get submitted?
Well, Aisha, it could take anywhere from a week to a year. I know that sounds crazy, but it depends on who we're submitting the permits to.
Hmm.
And if they have rejections or revisions or review time. We've been waiting on a permit for the city of San Marcos for one of our model homes for almost 5 months now. And that's just the way it
Yeah.
is. We've had there's several cities that are very upfront about it. Like, hey, what's the 90-day turnaround time? Well, it's not.
Hmm.
It's more like 6 months, but they're going to tell you 90 days. But there's some that you can submit and you can have it in 3 days. So without knowing exactly where you're building, Aisha, it really depends. But just know that it'll take as long as it takes, and it may require other information going back and forth. They may ask for other, like we're doing right now. They require mitigation study and conveyance study and drainage studies and
Hmm.
that kind of
Park
stuff.
dedication fees. Who knew?
Park dedication fee, $6,000.
So are they just building? I'm just curious. Are they building a park for every house now? Like how?
So what they typically will do is, I'm glad you asked, Dawn. Great question.
Sorry,
Well,
I can't let that go. Like,
so we've seen water impact fees, sewer impact fees, road impact fees. I've seen it called a park
mhm.
impact fee. That's the closest thing I can relate it to. Is basically your family, the Dantzler family, is moving into city XYZ, and in order part of the permit process will be the impact that your family is going to have on, in this case particularly, the park and recreation department. So
Okay.
you are going to have wear and tear on the swings because I've seen your family. They're crazy. They're going to get on the swing. They're going to stand on them. They're going to hang from them. They're going to do things to them and truly that's how they assess a value to every new permit being pulled of what it's going to cost or how much
Wow.
that family's use of whatever the park facilities are going to add to it. Now, not to say that there isn't some impact. Okay, right? I mean, a water impact fee
Mhm.
makes sense. Every person that taps into the city's water tap, that's that much more, like that's another house they have to service. So there's something to that. I don't know what kind of funny algorithm math is done to calculate what the impact is going to be, but it's some mathematical actuary's job somewhere in the dark corner that comes up with
Budget shortfall divided by.
so. But anyway, the park dedication fee is exactly that. It's the impact that you or your household is going to have on the parks department.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Bring your own
Aisha's
swing set. Bring your own
bring
swings.
my. I know. I feel like they're overestimating the amount people are going to use the park. But okay. So Aisha's asking, do you build homes on piers or is that extra?
Aisha, we have built homes on piers, and yes, it is extra.
Okay.
It costs more money.
All right. And Tracy is saying we had to have a lot of dirt brought in. Yes, you did. Went out today. It was just spread. Our foundation will be over 4 feet across the front of our home.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a lot going on.
Yeah, that's a lot of dirt.
And dirt and a piece of property can eat up dirt real quick. 20 truckloads sounds like a lot until you see 20 truckloads on, like in Roxy's case, on 13 acres. Like 20 trucks is nothing.
Yeah.
I've seen us do some that have 200 loads of dirt. It's the way. It depends on what needs to be done and how level the site is. Again, this is built on
Your lot. Yeah.
we did not pick the property, but we can help you get it buildable, get it ready for your dream. That we can do.
Absolutely. And that is actually the last question that I see. So if anybody has any other questions, start typing really, really fast.
Yeah. So again, we know this is not always the most exciting. It's not as pretty as the glamorous ones that Dawn and Kelsey do with the customer videos. But it is something that we know you folks need. And so we wanted to get this out here again and make sure that everybody was aware of kind of how and why we do the financing the way that we do. It's not in-house financing. So something that's a common misnomer. We do not do in-house financing. We use, reputable mortgage bankers that they have access to, they have a portfolio of investors and they're all Fannie Mae backed, sold on the secondary market, like federally conforming conventional loans. And we have customers that do FHA. We have customers that do VA. We have customers that do Texas Vet. We have mostly conventional. That's where the bulk of ours go to. So Anyway, we certainly want to help you in any way that we can. We have a Facebook page. Most of you know that
Yes.
because we see you. We have a
Most of
YouTube
you are on
channel.
it.
Most of you know that because you're also here too. So there's tons of information on both of those. There is also a website. There's also 12 locations staffed waiting to walk you through this process, design the homes, make the changes that you need, price it out for you right there in front of you. That's ready to go. We have online sales consultants that are ready to have conversations with you. And anyway, and we're here. We're here every week for you guys.
Every week.
Dawn, what else we need to tell them? What else is going on?
I don't know. I think that's about it. We did have a couple of comments come through. We got Wesley. He is coming from Arizona, building in Greenville.
All right.
Tanya does not have a question. She's just excited to share that a builder said they might start placing the foundation forms next week. That's awesome.
All right, Tanya.
And Wesley's letting us know his foundation was poured 2 weeks ago, just waiting for major support beams before framing can start.
Okay.
Awesome. And he loves us. Yay. Thank you, Wesley.
Hey, yeah. And so going back to the supply chain stuff, right? Like,
yeah,
I guarantee you, we ordered that frame package for Wesley's house not last week. Okay.
Yeah.
That's not how that works. But Boise Cascade, awesome company. Their engineered wood products are the best in the business, and they're having the same supply chain issues as everybody else. And so, yeah, the big LVLs, the laminated veneer beams, the stuff so we can do these big, massive open spans like you see in the Wimberley and the LaSalle and the Driftwood.
Yeah.
That takes engineered wood products that goes up in the attic to hold the weight of the roof up and be able to span those open spans. A lot of those things are harder to get than they used to be. Shocker. So anyway, and we're reading that it could be the end of 2022 or into 2023 before any of that stuff eases. One thing I read today was a lot of the mills and those kind of things that were shuttered in the Great Recession, so 2008, 2009, 2010, they still haven't opened.
Oh, really?
So now we're dealing with record demand. Some of them have, but not all of them. And so we're dealing with record demand already in 2018, 2019, and then the rest of it happened. And the mills that were online, then they shut down for COVID. They've come back online slowly. So this supply chain issue problem did not start with COVID. This started 13 years ago.
Yeah, he's doing a canyon with the vaulted living room and back porch. So
yes,
that's where his beams are going.
Yes, and gravity is working against you, Mr. Bass. That's the problem. I blame gravity.
Yes.
But yeah, as soon as those beams come in, man, we'll be rocking and rolling and get going. So thank you all for watching. If you got any questions, of course, reach out to us any way you want to. We're pretty easy to get a hold of. And until then, we cannot wait to make you part of the Tilson family. We'll talk to you guys later.
Bye, everybody.